Ahoy and welcome back to The Workaround. My name is Bob Gilbreth. You are in good company with over 11,000 fellow entrepreneurs and innovators who follow my stories from a career in tech startups and corporate innovation. I'm sitting here right now to make you think, smile, and discover a shortcut to success or a trap to avoid. And this is one of those about traps to avoid. And I don't know if this is in my head, but I've read that a key for success in any kind of storytelling post about yourself is most people don't want to hear about your successes. They want to hear about failures. And there's probably a lot of reasons for that. I think I'm the same way. I love to read about failures, not because I have some desire to see other people fail, but more of that's interesting and that's how people learn, and maybe I'll learn something that can help me succeed from their failures. And so that is a little bit of inspiration and frankly, a lot of people who come to me with their ideas. And I do have a tendency, instead of bragging about some success I had, to more warn them about how tough the path actually can be. So that is the spirit of today's essay reading video, whatever service you're on to check it out. It's called How to Kill Your Ideas: 2 Ways to Test Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself. One of the interesting things about being an entrepreneur is discovering how many other people would like to follow in your footsteps and are hungry for advice. Recently, I met with Greg, a coworker for a short time at a previous company. He's a successful sales executive by day, but by nights and weekends, he's got big ideas. Greg wanted to run an idea by me, which happens about twice a week. Years ago, I would fill a half-hour conversation with my assessment of the person's idea, along with keys to success and watchouts. However, I've finally realized that my evaluation of an idea is essentially meaningless. I've seen so many great ideas of my own die an ugly death, and frequently been surprised when products I thought were dumb ended up as massive hits. While I don't claim to know whether an idea will work or not, I do know what it's like to be an entrepreneur and an idea person. It's a rare gift that can turn into a curse. I've wasted years of my life on bad ideas that once got me excited. Now, when people bring me an idea, I try to help them see themselves in the mirror. This is my little speech and some stories. Congratulations, you're an idea person. That's usually the first thing I say. We need creative thinkers in our economy to drive innovation forward. Every great product or service we use in our lives today came from a person who couldn't stop thinking about a problem and solution. However, most people do not have business ideas constantly running through their minds. This is a rare gift. If this is you, thank you. We need you. The good news is that if you come up with an idea, just one idea, there's many more where that one came from. Now, we need you to ensure it's worthy of your time before you waste your precious years on it. It's an interesting experience to be an idea person. We walk about in our lives seeing pain points pop up everywhere. We wonder why so much stuff is crappy and why someone doesn't make a better solution. And then an idea lands. What if we use this to solve that? A vision enters our minds of what a future would look like with millions of people using our that. Taglines, URLs, and creative advertising ideas fall into our minds as fast as we can jot them down. We instinctively know how we'll innovate and expand even further in the years ahead. And there's the mental images of accepting awards on a stage and watching wire notifications of many zeros heading into our bank accounts. These ideas and visions are even more compelling and dangerous once you've seen this movie play out successfully in your career. I got an early taste of this as a brand manager on Mr. Clean when we launched Magic Eraser. It was a surprise hit to everyone in the market, especially our own team. I recall receiving calls from retailers pleading for more product and from reporters seeking to learn about the secret to our success. Things were moving so fast, We didn't have time for the typical processes. One day, I drove to our R&D building and looked at a few product samples of future eraser formulations. Standing in the lab for just 10 minutes, we agreed, this will be our year 2 innovation, this one year 3, and that one year 4. It all came true, even after I left the company. It's an iconic product now. Having wrestled with the angels of the free market economy and won, we know we can be so right. But there's a fine line between genius and insanity, and between confidence and arrogance. I've launched a lot of businesses that have failed, including, but certainly not limited to, a mobile shopping app that could recognize product packaging and provide ratings and reviews, an app that would provide additional reference information as you read a book, a natural soap for your fruits and vegetables, a Pinterest marketing optimization SaaS solution, an NFT version of industry awards and deal trophies. I even spent a year creating a company that conducted market research for startups, helping them avoid wasting too much time. Oh, the sweet irony. Only months or years later in each of the above that I finally see the truth that I could have learned so much more easily and saved me from frustration, lost money, and punctured pride. So today, I'm a signpost, and I have 2 suggestions for idea people that may help you avoid wasting your gift. Number 1, let it take shots. Ideas are just ideas. They make sense in your mind, otherwise they wouldn't have come forward from your unconscious. But it's easy to fool yourself. There's a military saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. That's you and your idea. This is also why it's silly to go get patents or trademarks out of the gate, or insist that people sign an NDA before you talk to them about it. Until you get feedback from unbiased experts and paying customers, your idea isn't worth protecting. This is especially true if your business idea involves a market about which you have little or no personal experience. I've been pitched 100 ideas for a new form of advertising by people who have never been on the inside of the advertising or marketing business. Things that seem like no-brainers from the outside have very real, sometimes illogical reasons that they could never work. So, expose your baby idea to as many evaluators as possible. When you share the idea, put on your tough grader hat. Your task now is to identify the issues and determine why it won't work. You're collecting no's and why nots. You are not validating. People will often be too nice to give you the really-reallys, so beg them to kill your idea before you waste your precious life on it. Another pro tip is to search for the founders who tried and failed to launch your idea years earlier. They're all out there. And you will probably find that those founders are eager to ensure that people don't repeat their mistakes. Here's an example of an idea I thought up a few years ago. Problem: startups struggle to hire top talent in part because prospective employees worry about the high risk of layoffs. Solutions: RIF insurance. A new insurance product that startups can buy as a benefit for employees. If the company has to conduct a layoff, affected employees receive a minimum of 3-month severance. As a startup founder, I would have loved this as a tool to both attract talent and help me deal with the fallout if we failed to get traction or ran out of funding. I had visions of this idea helping thousands of startups and millions of employees be more confident in taking the leap with less risk. It made so much sense. Then I stopped thinking and started talking with some friends in the insurance industry. They warned me of adverse selection. Startups most likely to buy this insurance are also the most likely to lay people off, those with weak financials or uncertain outlooks. This creates a pool of high-risk clients, making it nearly impossible to price the product sustainably. Then there's moral hazard. If a startup knows that layoffs trigger an insurance payout, it might become less disciplined about managing its runway or retaining employees, thereby increasing the likelihood or frequency of layoffs. They also mentioned issues related to pricing volatility, claims disputes, and the fact that insurance companies tend to dislike selling to small businesses, especially things like startups. Essentially, they were Mike Tyson in his prime, and my idea was Glass Joe in his first bout, using a busted NES controller. So I put that idea out of its misery just a week after it came out of my head. I didn't look back until starting to write this post, when I logged on to my GoDaddy account to remind myself of the bad ideas I've had in the past. Unsurprisingly, I've had many business ideas since then. Some of them survived this test and worked out. Killing bad ideas makes room for more, eventually good ones. By the way, if you want to buy the riffinsurance.com URL, I'll give it to you for a special price. Please act now before I have to decide on whether or not to renew it again. Now you know your idea is probably dumb, and that's okay. The smartest person in history was known for saying that he knew nothing. That's Socrates, by the way. Second lesson, see if it compels you. If your big idea survives its coming out party, that doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go for it. The next step is to see if it grabs you by the ears and forces you to take action. I found this next test best articulated by my productivity guru, Cal Newport. One of the things I love about Cal is that he looks into the biographies and personal journals of history's most accomplished innovators. Again and again, he finds that Galileo, Marie Curie, Jane Austen, and countless others were very patient people. They chose the right direction and spent years making incremental progress. Cal said, "It doesn't matter how fast you move if it's in a worthless direction. Picking the right thing to work on is the most important element of productivity and usually almost ignored." But how do you pick the right direction? In a recent podcast episode, he shared a personal guideline that he has in common with Sam Altman. Love him or hate him, Altman knows a thing or two about startup ideas. Their answer: resist working on them.
It is really hard to figure out the right thing to work on, the thing that's going to matter and that uses this rare and valuable skills that you currently possess. And it's probably going to take a long time once you choose the right thing to get really good results. So you want to be really wary of just diving into things, because when you dive into things, you're basically flooding your circuits with activity and you are taking them out of the game for working on other more important things. So resist working on things. I often say with big projects, resist working on them. Think about them, read about them, get excited about them, but resist working on them until you can't help it anymore. Sort of like me with book writing, me with this podcast. Man, I resisted podcasting for a long time.
But he went for it eventually, and it's awesome. Our conscious minds are funny things. They give us these ideas out of the blue, but then our conscious self has to figure out what to do with them. The answer is to send them back to our unconscious and see if it keeps nagging us about it. Our unconscious idea machine is far larger and even more intelligent than our waking conscious mind. So if it keeps driving you in a particular direction, it's almost always wise to take its lead. If you ignore it, the unconscious might find ways to sabotage whatever you do instead. If nothing else, following your unconscious, your gut, means you will be internally aligned and bring more energy and a higher chance of success to whatever direction you decide on. I've left many ideas gathering digital dust because they simply no longer held my interest after a few days or weeks. On the other hand, I found myself excited to get up on a Saturday at 6 a.m. to conduct more research or send more cold emails for a business idea that I just can't stop thinking about. This is what happened when I decided to launch this Substack a few years ago. And it's almost always how I decide what story I'm going to tell when I sit down to write each week. Creating anything is a labor of love, so you gotta love it to create well. This is also a method I use in evaluating leaders to invest in launching service businesses with our holding company. They come to me with an idea, and if it looks promising, I suggest we both go out and conduct further research and interviews. It's a test of lesson one, but it's mostly a way of seeing who's obsessed with the idea. When they delay or fail to complete the work, we don't move forward. And that's good. Some ideas are just fantasies. Some people want to escape their current job or career path, but haven't given enough thought to what the right one is. And entrepreneurship is the worst fallback option. A little forced work assignment is a good self-test to see if you're obsessed enough to spend years on something. When they keep coming back, I know they're serious, and I lean in further too. That's why it was an easy idea for us to back Rob at A2 Influence and Jess at Revlon. Nothing about entrepreneurship is easy, and that's a feature, not a bug. If you're not willing to work on your idea on Saturday, don't bother working on it on Sunday. The good news is the right path forward won't feel like work, whatever it is. It's mostly about knowing your whole self and following its lead down the right path. All right, hey, how we might work together. Remember Rob and Steph? I'll talk about them again. First, about Rob at A2 Influence. If you are headed to the Cannes Lion Advertising Festival in June, I would love to meet up with you. I'll be there with our team from A2 Influence, which is our content development agency that helps some of the biggest brands and retailers create and distribute authentic content at scale. It would be a blast to go see in person. Fleet is that holding company for services businesses. We invest in leaders ready to start their own companies. We also do some M&A. If this might be you, hit my office hours link over on Substack. We'll set up some time. Revlon, I alluded to that as well, is our consulting practice that helps with revenue alignment, growth management, and other RevOps functions. Our CEO, Jess Schumann, is standing by to share a no-cost assessment of your business. And of course, as always, would love for you to schedule a chat during my office hours, discuss any questions, feedback, networking, any topic you have. Seriously, any topic. It's my joy to have those meetings with folks. And you might help me come up with some content for this every week. Finally, the cool content of the week, a little something I found meaningful. You might agree. This is about relaxing on the water. While Memorial Day weekend is in the rear view, there are a total of 104 days of summer vacation, which means there's still plenty of time to get out and relax. I am feeling pretty relaxed right now because as I speak, I can look to my left and see a view of the lake. Now, thanks to Adam Grant, I know why I have been so relaxed lately. Because he shared a post last July. Yes, I've been hanging on to this since last July. That included some new scientific research showing that, quote, it's more calming to look at a lake, pool, or stream than trees or grass. And wider bodies of water bring even more tranquility, which helps explain why even people who hate the sand often flock to the beach. So, we'll see you in Cannes in front of the beach in a few weeks, or if you're ever up in northern Michigan this summer near Traverse City, drop me a line and we can look at the lake together. I'll bring the beer. That's all for now. Thanks for joining, and ahoy for now. Bye-bye.